Welcome to part one of the second feature film that I've ever shot as a cinematographer. If you want to see the behind the scenes of the first feature film I ever filmed, I'll have that linked in the description below. So this feature film, as you can see, starts off right in the heat of summer on a lake. This is a very low budget film, but we're doing everything we can to make it feel like a much higher budget film, always trying to elevate everything that we make. This is like another kind of genre thriller film that we're making, doing our best to make it look as cinematic as possible. We're doing it in a very lean crew, as you can see. Kyle over here, my gaffer, trying to contain the wind with the modifiers that are blowing around in this ridiculous, windy Oklahoma weather. We are shooting on two cameras here. I've got my Red Monstro and my Red Komodo. We're shooting on the Typoch Simera-C lenses. We're trying to keep everything as nimble as possible so we can knock out as many shots as we can every day. Now, I'm gonna eat my own words on this, and I am shooting almost this entire film on a gimbal. And we'll talk heavily about this gimbal setup in another video coming out very shortly. But for this video, we're gonna stick to mostly just the feature film itself. But with this rig, I was able to move very quickly, don't have to carry a tripod around, don't have to worry about getting shots like that. Like if the director calls out a shot that we have to get on the fly, I can pick it up and go. And I know I've been very against this way of shooting, but yes, if I had a multi-million-dollar crew, I'd probably be much more strategic. I'd probably be on a dolly, I'd probably be on tripods, I'd probably have jibs and stuff like that, and being very, very, very intentional about each shot I'm getting, which I'm still trying to be as intentional as I can here. But we're trying to get somewhere between 30 and 90 shots every day in this low budget with barely any crew. You have to be able to move the camera fast, but I didn't want that handheld look. I wanted to be able to still have stability, be able to move around, be able to run if I need to, and still have a stable shot. And that's where this gimbal rig really came in. Time of day was really difficult here. We're doing our best to light outside. We are dealing with just the grip package that I have, my little van package, and we're trying to contain the sun, control the sun, and it really was quite difficult. When you're shooting in 95-degree heat, you're sweating, you don't have a lot of hands, you've got the wind coming in. It's really difficult, but we're doing our best to make it look good. Trick here was everything being on carts, being able to wheel around quickly. I'm even just using these small ND filters rather than using a matte box. Covered head to toe in basically hiking gear to make sure that I don't get sunburns, you don't get ticks. I did end up getting poison ivy on this, and I always do. I am very prone to it, so of course, this is probably exactly where it happened right here. But you can see how this camera rig allows me just to get going and run and get action shots when we need them. And also shout out to Cinco for sending us over these new headsets. This comm system came in so handy. The AC and the gaffer were far away a lot, and I can run off and get stands for me. Or if I needed to call out an action to the AC, he could bring me a lens or whatever. And these comms never missed a beat the entire time. You just can lift up and down the little microphone there, and that allows the sound to come through. Never had a single hiccup with these, and we were able to move so much faster having these always on our heads.
We have some POVs where we just see him, it's just the camera view of just nothingness. So I have two of those. And then I have, after he's walked away, he steps on a stick, like a, and then I see you of his eyes as he's getting closer to that, as he's approaching that. Okay. So like we could even get that CU right here, and it's just like, you know, pretty tight on his eyes as he's getting closer.
My hair needs to be more sweaty for this.
Or it could be down there, further away.
So there's more background.
Yeah.
Just gonna work our way down.
So we need that wide still, right?
So it could be
We'll
like
do that last.
we'll do that last. Yeah, thank you. But it'll be so it's like a step on a stick and then an ECU and eyes. And it could be down there.
Yeah, let's get a different spot for the stuff on the stick just to change it.
Do we want me more sweaty, muddy in the hair and stuff, or am I good?
This is a really good example of what it's like to be on a film set, and especially a low budget one, as a DP or a director. There's so many things that you're trying to figure out so quickly. So this is us making decisions, communicating to everyone. You've got an actor asking questions, you've got a gaffer asking questions, you've got an AD asking questions, while we're just trying to figure it out. You don't get to storyboard every single shot when you do a low budget film like this and you're moving this quickly. It's a lot of improv. You're trying to figure out as you go. You're like, this is what we need to accomplish in this scene, and how do we get it? Here's a basic shot list. How do we make it work? And we have to block it out on the fly and then capture it as quick as possible. Rocking the Godox 1200R here, 1200 watt light, RGB, with the giant Fresnel on it. Quite large, quite heavy, but really gives us punch even in these scenarios where we're outdoors. Made it through day one, super hot, really hard, with just a couple grips. 8x and Oklahoma wind don't work out very well, but we tried. Today we're actually in the shade, so we're gonna try to use this 1200 watt light with a Fresnel, shoot it into some of these woodsy areas, and not have to deal so much with competing with this God-given sun. And then the cart system here, we've got an EcoFlow on the bottom, being able to charge as we go. We do have a generator, and we do end up using the generator quite a bit, but for the rest of the, the batteries and the monitors and stuff like that, we can just have it running into a battery like that while we're out here in the wilderness. And finally, we're moving into the night here. We get to break out some lights. Really leaning heavily on tube lights, but we did put up a 720 in the back to act as this giant moonlight backlight. Ideally, you're on a Condor or you're something like that. You're really high in the air. It really helps sell it, but we didn't have that ability here since we're working on such a small budget. We're all here for very low pay, basically on a volunteer basis, because just for the love of making movies. Also made this little fog machine. You can use basically a bug fogger. You put mineral oil in it and it creates this really nice fog effect. And we just did that for a couple shots just to create some atmosphere for the wides. We didn't end up really using it for the rest of it. I don't want to use too much haze if I don't need to, but it just adds a nice depth and spreads the light around when you're shooting outdoors. The bug situation here was really bad. Quick turnaround, and we were going out to shoot in the water for the first time. But let's take a quick break to thank the sponsor of this video, which is Squarespace. Squarespace is an all-in-one platform to present your work online. Start a completely personalized website with Design Intelligence from Squarespace. Design Intelligence empowers anyone to build a beautiful, bespoke digital identity to use across your entire online presence. Maybe you want to start an online store to sell your photography or other products. Squarespace has the built-in functionality to get one of those up and running quickly. I've actually been using Squarespace to run my online stores for almost a decade now. And of course, if you're like me, you're probably looking to build a portfolio, which Squarespace has tons of features for that very thing. You can even create private galleries for client work using these tools. As you acquire work through your website, you can now collect payments using branded invoices, manage client info, feedback, and payment activity all in one place. So if you're looking for a home for your work, you can do that with Squarespace. Click the link in the description to get 10% off, and I want to thank Squarespace for sponsoring this video. I'm using the Komodo, of course, in the water. I would much rather have a cheap little B camera fall into the water rather than my main A camera, the Red Monstro. And it just allowed me to move a little quicker in the water. So we tried this aquarium at first. We have a Capit on the camera, which made it get really hot, but it never missed a beat. People are always talking about Reds having problems. I shot in 100-degree weather for 4 days straight, and both of these Reds stayed on basically all day and never, ever had a problem. Ended up putting on these waders and putting it on top of this little inner tube here that looks like a donut, which prompted me to get donuts on my day off, of course, and just kind of rested on there and was really careful. If I missed a step, it could have gone in the water, but luckily that did not happen so far. I was able just to move it around, kind of just treat it like I was wearing, you know, a chute sack or something, but I was using the inner tube to rest the camera on. While Colton Berry, my first AC, was over on the boat pulling focus for me. This was a time of day thing, can't really light in the water, so we made sure to shoot very early in the morning to get all of our shots. We did end up getting some drone shots later, about 11, which is basically high noon when you look at the light in the summer like this. Those shots didn't look quite as good, but I was really favoring my camera in the good light. Sorry, drone. That's just kind of how it works out. So basically in the water for multiple hours, getting all these shots, and just doing our best to use the shape that's already there for lighting. I did think about putting a bounce in the water or something like that, but I decided against it. And just did my best to, make it look right and get... The Komodo is cutting together quite well with the Monstro. The Monstro is obviously a better camera. Full frame looks really nice, but there's just these times where you have to switch to something like this to get the shots, get the story. The story overall will trump the quality of the cameras. Threw the drone up off the boat here to get some overhead shots, and then we're able to wrap this kind of donut day, or what we call a split. And it's basically where you get up early in the morning, you shoot for a few hours, and then you go home, you go to sleep for a few hours, you get 5 hours off or so, and then come back for a night shoot. This was one of our first major splashes on the Monstro. I ran away to get it dried off as quick as possible. Sean, our lead actor here, just told me he was going to jump pretty far into the water. I did not know he was going to splash me like that, though. Mostly shooting on the 50mm Typoch at just past T2, not trying to shoot everything too wide open, getting a little bit of sharpness, getting both eyes in focus. When we're on the Komodo, we're probably on a wider lens because it's Super 35. We're probably on a 35, 28, or 21. I'm shooting those wide open though to kind of match it the best I can. And the Typochs give you a little bit more character wide open, of course, but Typochs really coming in handy. I've been using them pretty much exclusively over the last few months. They're just so small and lightweight, and I really like the look of them. Really just a perfect lens for this kind of setup. They do tend to flare quite wildly with this kind of smudge flare, and the lens can get a little decontrasty if you're shooting direct sunlight. So that was something to really note and combat, but we just used a little gaff tape as a kind of lens hood for most of it if we need a flare like that. And I'm kind of saving the best for last here. This was a night shoot in the water using my same inner tube setup. But this is when the waders got a hole in them, and my waders actually filled up with water. But we pressed on. I also think there was quite a lot of wildlife in this water, but we did what we needed to do to get the shots. Shooting at night is quite difficult. It's a whole game. We have a 1200 and 720 on a generator far away, backlighting everything, and then we leaned into tubes as fill light and key light up front on the boat. We were trying to make this boat look like it was much farther away than it was, so we kind of established with this wide shot and then moved into these close-ups closer to the dock, trying to sell that we're out there in the water, but really we're right up in shallow water. Well, this is just the first 4 days of this feature film. I'm going to be doing quite a lot of behind the scenes content over this, so subscribe if you want to see that. Next week, we're going into a studio. We'll be doing a lot more studio lighting for that, and I'll try to break down some of the lighting setups so you guys can kind of see how we're doing this. Still made things look as good as possible on our tight budget and time frame. And definitely stay tuned for the next video where I'm going to talk about this camera rig. This camera rig that I kind of ripped off from Henry Bram, who just shot the new Superman movie. A very similar setup that he used, and we'll get into the kind of nitty-gritty details of that in the next video. And then stay tuned for part 2 of the feature film behind the scenes, because that will be coming up shortly as well. Until next time, guys, I'm Sakurai. See ya.